So yeah, I'm gonna describe and give you a brief overview of Mes Aides, which is in English my benefits or my allowances. First of all, just a very brief introduction. So I'm Thomas Guillet, and I've been working in finance, and I've got a master's degree, and for now almost 5 years, I'm contributing to beta.gouv.fr. And I'm working on different products and services that are available and made available online. The starting point of the online benefit system I'm going to show you is the fact that we can only see that some public authorities do struggle to deliver services now. So that's the reason why we built an online simulator. And it was started back in 2014. So the simulator is a pretty basic website where people have the possibility to answer a few questions about their situation, about their date of birth, their employment situation, their resources, their kids, and at the end of that journey, we show them some of the benefits that are that seems to be eligible for them. And we also, in addition to highlighting benefits, we also try to estimate amounts for those benefits that people can apply for and claim. That work is done using open source software. We are working on different building blocks with open source software. So the front side is made in Vue.js, and the most complicated part for the tax and benefits system model is made using Open Fisca, which is a framework that is built on top of Python and NumPy. All of that is open source. It's available online on GitHub. And in that presentation, I wanted to show you a quick overview of Open Fisca and how it's working. I think it's a bit linked to the previous demo you had, but I think it's good to show you a different way things can be modeled. So the key things in Open Fisca are individual. And with Open Fisca, what we do, we gather people in groups that are keys for the French administration. And as every administration, as every government, there are quite a lot of complexity. So we've got different administration with a different perspective on how people should be gathered. So we've got INSEE, which is people into household. We've got la CAF, les allocations familiales, which see people into family. And we've got les finances publiques, which sees people into fiscal units. So we've got those different entities, and what we do is we associate all variable to those entities. So the age is associated to the individual, the rent is associated to households, the fiscal income to fiscal units, and so on and so on. In the French Open Fisca model, we've got more than 2,000 variables that are linked to one another that allow us to model and to manipulate and to create the rules that are within the French tax and benefit system. To give you an example, I show you a very brief Python snippets of code for a basic variable in the model. And we can see it's a mix between Python with also some NumPy constraints that make it quite a strict language. I wanted to highlight a bit of a line on that snippet, which is a legislation constants. In addition to link variable to one another, Open Fisca is also a good tool to track the legislation constant that can move over time. Here it's another, it's a screenshot of GitHub for one specific what we call parameter. So it's the marginal tax rates for the income tax. And so people can write those values within in YAML files. They made available using some via API, and we can build services like simulator, but also just use tools that allow us to see the evolution of those constants through time. In a nutshell, Open Fisca is a way to compute variable on individual and on groups that they form from a for institution and the administration. The other good thing with Open Fisca is that a lot of people work so that it's a pretty modular framework, and it was built for France, but also for other countries and for also local governments. And it was made so that a few APIs, general APIs, have been constructed so that product and services can be built on top of that framework. It's used by the simulator I'm being introducing, but it's also used in other contexts. In addition to be used in other contexts in France, it's also used in other countries that are either experiencing Open Fisca or using it live to model and represent their own rules in tax and benefit system. So that was a move to Open Fisca, but I wanted also to focus on what we do with the front side of the simulator. And to show you a bit of the work we keep on doing right now, I wanted to focus on the challenge we have and on the thing that we are the subject we're trying to tackle. So the key challenge we have is involving stakeholders, because we've got at beta.gouv.fr, we've got small team. Most of the product are built and managed by small team, and we've got a lot of autonomy, but we need to be linked and to be in interaction with the stakeholders. Our stakeholders for the benefit simulator are institutions that provide allowances. And I guess in every country, there are a lot of these, and they struggle to talk to one another. There are institutions at the national level and at the local level, at the different layer, actually, of the local layer. When we want to involve those stakeholders, we've got 4 key subjects or key areas we want to focus. We want to work with them. First of all, we want to add benefits. I didn't talk about that earlier, but in our simulator, we've got more than 600 benefits listed, and we evaluate the eligibility for all of these, and we leverage Open Fisca, but we also figured that Open Fisca is a complex system, and some institutions don't have the will or the ability to work on that model right now. So we built a second smaller step where people can define and share either editorial content as well as basic rules of their benefits, so that it's a step for them to get involved in sort of in a first model. But then when we see edge cases, we can describe them the situation with Open Fisca that could be a tool to go forward and allow more detailed and more complex model. The first key area we want to work with institution is really adding benefits, and the second one is once we've got the benefit in the simulator and people are aware it exists, we want to make sure that it's easy from the last page of our simulator to the first page of the application process and to the last page, and actually to the benefits that is made available to the people. Some institutions are really still relying on paper form that need to be sent by mail. So we want to help them either move to online, plus a fallback for people that don't want to use online services. And we also want to make forms easier to fill online, so that if, for instance, people gave us information in the simulator, we can pre-fill some of the form, either from data we've got or from data already known elsewhere within the administration. The third area we want to work with stakeholders is really to put back some human in the interaction. We are the simulator team is a very small team. We are only 5 of us, and we've got thousands of users a day. So we want to bring stakeholders into our simulator and make sure that people know where to go, know how to contact the stakeholders, and probably be able to have an appointment with people from the stakeholders' relevant teams. And last but not least, we really want to help them help us. We want them to help us, improving our model. I talk about how we can add benefits incrementally, but that incremental work means that there are edge cases that needs to be dealt, and that it's an ongoing work to get those edge cases into the model and make sure that we inform people as they should be informed, so that basically we want to prevent false positive and false negative in our simulator, because when we say we evaluate the benefits amounts incorrectly, it can lead to issues with the stakeholders. And when we don't show a benefit that people could benefit, we are creating some non-take-up. So we need to get a balance between the complexity and the model, but that's an ongoing process. I think I've been a bit further than 10 minutes, but I hope that that was a brief but detailed presentation, and I'm really happy to answer your question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Thomas, for sharing your work and your project with us. We will now begin the Q&A portion of the Mes Aides demo. As always, please raise your hand if possible, but if not, you can drop your questions in the chat and I'll be happy to ask a few on your behalf. While we wait for questions to come in from the audience, Thomas, I had a question for you, which is, do you have any statistics yet as to what the impact and usage has been of your simulator thus far?
Well, as I said, it started in 2014, and it was not an easy journey. So currently, we've got between 3,000 to 5,000 people going on the simulator, and most of them do go until the end of the simulator and are informed. We actually track that using Matomo, and these statistics are available online and they are public. But in the past, that simulator was more broadly known by the public and within this administration. So we used to have 50,000 people using the simulator per day. So we managed to leverage the past work for the new simulator, but yeah, that's how it's used today.
Wow, that's really incredible. There is a question in the chat from Margaret Thorpe, who asks, Thomas, could you speak more about the process of maintaining the rules and models as policies change for the 600 benefits being managed in the simulator?
So I'll start with the easy part. Well, the easier part, I would say. Open Fisca, the French version of Open Fisca, is actually used by different institutions in France. And one of them is in charge of keeping the main social benefits rules up to date. So that's how now we say that, and it's not us. So if there are discrepancies or people talking to us and say, oh, I don't understand why there is a discrepancy between what I get on your simulator and what I get when I get on my bank account, we try to dig into the reason why there is a gap, and we inform the rest of the community. So that's for national level rules. And on a local level, there are lots of initiatives regarding the rules. The rules is one complex aspect, but it's also already even the link to the resources online. It's already a challenge to tackle, because last week or 2 weeks ago, one website just changed their whole architecture, and more than 50 links were just out of date, and people that we know there were not even aware of, who could not help us for being able to get the latest resources. For the local one, we try to work with the stakeholders, but for the national one, we try to either correct the rules ourselves, because we are the one impacted, because people are using our simulator, and the information is coming from us, or coming from people using our websites. So the good thing about our simulator maybe to close, or maybe my answer is to say, we have the ability not to be 100% correct, so we leverage that aspect, and we don't have to be 100% correct, and we are pretty quick on fixing the issues. So these two key features we have in the team allow us to take into account some feedback from anyone, either users or administration, saying, there's a problem in the model, correct that very quickly, and we can be pretty reactive. So the issue is not, it does not exist for too long.
Thomas, that answer actually transitions nicely into our next question from the chat, which is from Jesse Rosenblit. He said, great presentation. And then he wanted to know, who actually translates the law into code? Is your team responsible for this, or do the government institutions take part? How is this process done? Is each benefit done separately?
So there are different approaches. The main one is usually in the past, there was our team that was building and modeling the rules. We've got some local government that were able to model the rules on their own, or using their own procurement system to have people model the rules for them. And as I was saying earlier, now some part of the administration is in a way responsible for the rules. So they do whatever they have to do to keep those rules correct, and they make sure that they reflect the reality. At the same time, we are pretty excited now, because actually you've got some a mandate, I would say, to dig into edge cases and specific cases to check with real data locally in some local administration, to confront the reality in the institution system and the results that are given with Open Fisca. And we've done that in 2018, and we managed to improve Open Fisca a lot on specific aspects. And we hope that we'll discover not too many discrepancies, but if we manage to see discrepancy, we hope that we'll be able to solve them and remove them between the reality that is in the institution systems and the figures that are in the institution system and the one that we provide with Open Fisca.
Great, thank you. And then our last question comes from Mary Pat. She says, Thomas, how did you promote awareness of this for usage outside of France?
How have we done it?
Yeah.
Well, actually, one person basically went, Matt Schneider went abroad and went in New Zealand, I think, and he presented Open Fisca. That's for New Zealand. Work was done with Tunisia, with other people involved in the Open Fisca community. We are very opportunistic about how we can, because we don't have any means, actually. Well, we don't have resources. So when people are interested in doing something similar, well, we either present them what we've done, or another example, in Germany, they look at Open Fisca and they build something very similar. So we tried to show them that actually they could use Open Fisca to prevent the emergence of something different. And yeah, we try to capture or leverage every opportunity, but we don't have any means for now. Some work recently have been done to try to structure Open Fisca at a national level, but also at an international level to be able to get some funding. But it's actually quite hard because the simulator, you rely on Open Fisca, but Open Fisca isn't the only place where there is complexity. We hide a lot of complexity in the front end, but there is still a lot of that, and we're pretty happy because as people don't see the complexity, and that's actually the best thing people can think about is, oh, it's not complex. Well, actually it is, but if you don't see it, that means that we've done a lot of work that is pretty good. So for Open Fisca, yeah, we try to spread the word